Hey YouTube, Catch Cup, 3 Pokemon that I already had built. Let's just play the battles because why I put them together was, so you saw my other one that it was 3 just terrible Pokemon. This is actually not terrible because it goes with the strategy that I talked about in one of my previous videos. And it's basically, it's not a true fast move damage team, but it's kind of a fast move damage team, a sneaky one, right? So basically you have double with double kick and Haxorus with counter. And I always said, if you're going to run a full fast move damage team, don't make it obvious, right? Don't make it obvious that you have a Razor Leafer in the back, because if you run Smackdown Razor Leaf or Smackdown Charm, Smackdown Razor Leaf counter user, like it's very those team elements are very obvious. And if you make it obvious, I can start shielding accordingly, knowing that you're not going to get to a lot of charge moves, right? So what this team does is, if you, especially if you show double and Haxorus first, a lot of the time you can, they'll be left with a shield because they'll just like let a body slam go because body slam doesn't hurt a ton. They'll let a breaking swipe go because it hurts, but it doesn't hurt too much. So you get that chip damage, and then you come out with a Razor Leafer in the back, and then you just farm down. Kind of like what you're seeing here. They're left with a shield because all these earlier plays, they did not shield, thinking it's like, it's just a body slam, it's just a breaking swipe, it's just a night slash. And then, hello, I got a Razor Leafer with the shield that I'm just going to do the rest of my damage that way. So I did this earlier in the season with, I think it was in the Little Cup. Yeah, I think it was like Steelix double. I think it was double with double kick. And then it was a Shadow Razor Leaf Oddish. And it was the same sort of concept, especially in the Little Cup where you're like, okay, I'll just take this double body slam. It does like 50%. And then it's like you get hit with a Razor Leafer that doesn't need to throw charge moves anymore. It can just Razor Leaf down, especially the Shadow Oddish. It was just so attack heavy, right? So that's a strategy. Again, it's not an amazing team. It's just these are 3 of the 6 Pokemon that I have built for this. I double shield, get this break and swipe up. Let's see if they shield here. Nope. And again, right? 2 shields. They have 2 shields and they do not use one. And I get the full farm down, and now I'm going to have a Razor Leafer and a counter user on their Bastiodon to take it out. It's a very good strategy that you can employ if you, again, don't make it obvious. And it's a little tricky. It's easier in the Little Cup, and it's somewhat easier here. So if I'm just going to go through PV Poke, so the question you may be asking is sort of like, what are these hard-hitting charge moves, right? That you can like, so the biggest obvious ones are sort of like Rock Throw, or no, Smackdown, Bastiodon, Razor Leafers, Charm users. I'd say sort of second level is, again, because double kick and counter is not ever going to just like do it all, like counter down and everything, but it's kind of like that second level of like, there's a lot of fast move damage here that could add up, especially with spammy charge moves. So like, again, Metacham's a tricky one because it just has, you know what Metacham is, but like Poliwrath, like counter Poliwrath with like Power Punch and Ice Punch, like that could be a sneaky ramp up with Power Punch and Ice Punch there. Seeing if there's any Dragon Breath users. Dragon Breath users are a little tricky, but like Altaria with like Sky Attack, the Dragon Breath damage is going to add up a ton there. People may let go there, and then if you come out with, again, don't know what you have in the back, like counter users, charm users, Razor Leafers, they could be caught off guard there. But otherwise, there's not a ton of like, because like, no, Shadow Claw is kind of like, I wouldn't put in the, no, Shadow Claw's not, it's sort of like same as counter. I wonder what the stats are for Shadow Claw and counter. Because again, counter's not like a true one. The only true ones are Razor Leaf, in my opinion. Like I talked about counter and double kick as like a second tier, but some would argue they're just like super strong charge moves that are just like charge fast and hit pretty hard. But the true ones are just Razor Leaf, Smackdown, Charm, and I would argue Dragon Breath as well, just because of how fast that damage can add up. But those are really the only 4 super hard hitting charge moves that you would have to think about. Is this a full fast move team? And then second level, I'd say, is, again, you can argue that these are just more good fast moves that also have damage, are counter, any of the fighting ones, counter double kick. Shadow Claw is an interesting one too, because Shadow Claw kind of adds up real quick on you, especially if you have like a foul play or something to go with it, just like claw foul play, that could add up unless it's resisted. But I'm looking at all these other fast moves, and there's nothing that really comes to mind here. A lot of these are just more energy generation. I'm looking at Spark, Wing Attack, Hex, Powder Snow, Fury Cutter, Vine Whip. Like these are all moves that it's like, okay, you're clearly just trying to charge quick and get to some charge moves here. There's a lot of things with counter in Great League, and Shadow Claw for that matter. Yeah, I think that's it. Bullet Seed will roll out again. Mudshot. These are just all energy generation. Water Gun Tapu. That's an interesting one. Because Tapu is one of those things where if you're just going Water Gun Surf, I feel like a lot of people are not going to shield unless it does like super effective. Otherwise, if you just go straight Water Gun Surf, I feel like a lot of people would save shield or what it is in the back. So Tapu could be a sneaky one. Tapu could be a sneaky one in that. Volt Switch on Pachirisu and Galvantula. Volt Switch, and I guess like I'm thinking about other 4-turn moves like Confusion. There's definitely been a few times where I'm in tournaments and I get like a Confusion user on me and it's too late for me. So I guess Confusion and Volt Switch, those are real tricky ones though, because unless you have like a Shadow Confusion user, or you're never really farming down with Volt Switch or Confusion, quite honestly. Confusion more than Volt Switch, quite honestly. But you're like Volt Switch, no. Volt Switch is more just like a longer energy move, and as opposed to like anything there. But Confusion from a Shadow Pokemon, like those can add up. But yeah, the rest of these, like I said, Dragon Tails, you feel it more in like Great League. And again, this is not a great strategy for Ultra League. Well, you can run like Double Charm plus in Ultra League, but for the most part you're using this strategy in Great League, or it is much more effective in Little Cup when everything just hurts like a ton in Little Cup. But I think that's it. I think it would actually be an interesting video. Maybe I'm going to do that one day, if people are interested, is go over all these sort of like fast moves and what it means for the Pokemon. Because I think it's interesting, because there's definitely, I'm starting to see, as I'm going through Poison Jab, right? Poison Jab is one, especially when it was with a Poison, well, when it's with a Poison Fang, obviously it's one, but Poison Jab on its own. Because it's interesting, because this is the part of the game I find like really, really interesting, because it's like, there are clear buckets for fast moves, right? There's just the no damage, high energy charge moves. Lock On, Mud Shot, Spark, Psycho Cut, right? You know those aren't doing any damage, but you know they're going to get to the charge moves relatively fast. On the other end, there's just the slower moves that you know take a while, but they hit like a truck. Charm, Razor Leaf, Smackdown, those being the main three. Dragon Breath again is kind of a weird one because you can get to Dragon Claw pretty quickly with Dragon Breath. So I wouldn't put that in that same category. And then I think there's like 5 levels in this. I'm just doing this off my head, so I'm gonna do this more in depth on another one. So there's like, let's just start with the fastest energy generation, Lock On, Mud Shot, stuff like that. Second level, I would say does a little more damage, but is mostly just used for gaining energy. And I say that with Wing Attack is the first one that I'm seeing here. Powder Snow, I would say, is another one. Like good energy generation that does chip a little bit. Let's see if there's anything else that just like pops up when I'm going down this list. Those are the main 2 that I'm seeing. Yeah, there's actually quite a lot of Powder Snow users. Water Shuriken, I guess, can kind of go in that one. It's such a Shuriken is such a weird move because it's like it should be in the first group with Mud Shot, but it actually does a lot more than Mud Shot. It does like 33% more damage than Mud Shot, so it's kind of on its own. Water Shuriken, if other Pokemon besides, I don't know if again, I haven't played the main games outside of Red. I don't know if other Pokemon get Water Shuriken, but like that move on outside of something like Greninja could be very, very deadly on a bulkier Pokemon. Lick is an interesting one because Lick kind of adds up on damage and is somewhat spammy. So that may be in the second one there. And then the third one I call the very broken moves. Shadow Claw, counter, right? And then the fourth is it hits pretty hard, but you're not going to get a ton of moves, but you'll get better than things. So that's where I think like Dragon Tail, Dragon Breath come in. That's where something like Water Gun comes in. And I think that's... Oh yeah, Fairy Wind is on the other end too, right? Fast, no damage, but fast charging. So there's basically these buckets, right? 5 buckets. And you can play extremes. You can mix and match. If you've watched this channel for a long time, I hate using Charmers. I hate using Razor Leafers. I hate using Smackdown users. I'm not on the far end there. Even like Dragon Breath users, I'm not... If I'm in the sort of buckets there, I'm in the third, second, or first. I prefer using... And you can see it through all my Pokemon that I love using. So like, let's just go back to the beginning. Like Fire Spin, Ninetales, I would say is probably in that sort of like not as strong as counter and Shadow Claw, but sort of like in that range of like good fast move with good damage. I love using Swampert, super fast charger. I like using Sableye, one of the best, sort of like third level there. I like using Togedemaru, very fast charging, hard hitting. Who else do I like using here? So I'm definitely on that end of the spectrum. I'm less on the Smackdown, Razor Leafer, Charm end of the spectrum. And it's not that it takes, I mean, it takes a little less strategy, but I just find that like I find this game is like won or lost on your ability to like get to charge moves and get them off properly. More often than not, for me, games are won less on just smacking someone down and more on optimizing your energy generation and charge moves and stuff like that. So that is why I'm firmly on the 3 or the middle or the fast end of energy generation there. But yeah, I think that would be like a fun video to look into. Let me know, because this is just a rambling video, and again, I can do this because it's the last week and these teams don't really make sense and I'm just kind of going through thoughts here. But let me know if there's any videos like that you would want me to examine with Pokemon. I've kind of already gone over like why Swampert is so broken, because you have like the mud shot fast charger with a great typing that is only weak to one thing in grass, with a hydro cannon which has like a 2.56 damage per energy, which is like insane for something that is so like quick charging. That's why like Swampert for me is broken. But if you want some videos like that, just let me know. Again, because these are long seasons, so we don't need to have like 8 teams every week. We can do something different here. Let me know. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.